What's up, everyone? You're listening to In the Lead. My name is Jennifer Tsang, and we're on episode number 3. And I wanted to spend some time today having a conversation around the power of mentoring and how mentoring can have an impact on your life, not just in the business sense, but also in your everyday life. I feel like there's always opportunities for us to mentor one another. And I wanted to share with you a couple of experiences that I've had in my career around great mentor and also mentee relationships where I've been able to really discover so much about myself and about the other person that it was just such a great experience, and I really love this topic, so I'm super excited about having this conversation with you today and sharing some of the tools and tips and things that I've noticed that have worked really well and really benefited the mentor relationship. So I hope to share some of that today through my story. I have a couple of really interesting stories that really had a very profound impact on my life, and I'm a strong advocate for mentorship in not only in the workplace, but in our everyday lives. So I look forward to having this conversation with you and welcome to the show. So, what does mentorship mean to you? I find, like with most things in life, mentorship means something different to everyone, and everybody has different experiences. Everyone has different um, backgrounds around mentorship. Maybe they've done a lot of mentoring or they've been a mentee, or maybe you just never had a mentor. But really, I like starting off conversations by really reflecting on what does mentorship mean to me? And when I start thinking about what does mentorship mean, it means connecting with another individual who either has a value or has some kind of experience that you're hoping to learn from. So for me, it's all about knowledge sharing and safety. Safety for me being key as a certified coach myself and someone who's been in therapy for a really long time. I understand the value of safety because in any type of relationship that you enter into with someone else, you want to make sure that in order to bring your whole self, you can feel safe in that environment. So I think, for me, when I kind of start to think about it, it feels like discovery and it feels like safety because in order for us to really truly be able to discover, we need to feel safe. So, how can we, as either mentors or mentees, bring that safe space to someone so that they can feel free to discover and uncover and really get sometimes messy into what it is that they're actually looking for? Because I know that with some of the folks that I have mentored in the past and it feels a lot like coaching to me, where people will come with a very broad, generic topic where it's like, I want to get promoted, or I want to be a better communicator, or I want to be more professional. Whatever it is, right? There's always this broad topic that usually comes forward within a mentee relationship. And I think the biggest value that you can add as a mentor is to help them get really granular and peel back the layers to understand what is it that they truly want. And I give this as an example because I feel like a lot of times I've come across mentors that acted like I have the answers, I know how to help you, and I'm just going to tell you what to do. If I come to you and say, hey, I really want to get promoted and I just don't know what I need to do, I, as a mentor, might say, oh, you do XYZ, you get this certification, you take these classes, you start doing this differently. And I'm basically giving you like the formula. And the best mentor relationships I have had have been more of kind of like a coaching mentorship where there's more open curiosity. And instead of the mentor bringing their kind of map of the world into the relationship, it's more of a let me help you discover and kind of hold that safe space so that you can discover what it truly is that you're asking for. Because I can almost guarantee you a lot of times when people enter these types of relationships, they may be asking for something on the surface, but what's really behind it? What's kind of the deeper meaning? And I find that, especially also with coaching, that if you can help somebody kind of get to that deeper meaning, they're far more likely to have more profound, impactful changes versus more kind of surface level changes that we all know don't really move the needle long term. It's kind of like when you want to lose weight and you want to become healthier. Do you go on a crash diet and, maybe diet for a month or two and then go right back to your old habits? So I feel like for the really deep, long lasting change, the benefits that we can provide as mentors is providing them that space to really explore and feel safe enough to discover what it is that is most meaningful to them. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, if you're expecting me to be like a coach, what's the difference between mentoring and coaching? And I think there's actually this beautiful intersection between mentoring and coaching because I think as a mentor, you can provide your insights and your wisdom and your experience based on your own life and how your career or life has unfolded. But at the same time, we also aren't living the same experience. And when I come to you as a mentor and ask for your opinion, you might be giving me the perspective from your standpoint, and I might be asking a totally different question, and the path might be different for me. So I think if we can find this beautiful kind of blend between kind of this traditional mentoring and also this coaching aspect, I think we can bring a lot of value to people and help them feel empowered to discover their own potential and then feel empowered to walk forward with that potential. Now, I want to share with you a personal story of mine about a mentorship that I have had in the past and how it really helped bring me to a powerful place in my life using this style of kind of mentoring as well as coaching. So a couple of years ago, I was just feeling very stuck in my career. I've been working at the same company for a really long time. I had been advancing in my career, doing a lot of really neat things, but I just felt this unrest. Like there was some other step that I needed to take. And at the time, I thought it was a particular type of role. So I kept going for the roles. I was trying to open those doors and they just weren't opening. And I was just really, really frustrated. So I sought out this mentor and she had this ability to bring this curiosity to the table. So I was expecting, like previous mentorships that I had had in the past, that I would go to them with a problem statement and we would talk through it. They would give me advice based on their background. They would maybe connect me with people or maybe job postings that they thought would be relevant to me. But this mentor had a bit of a different approach and she used a lot of curiosity. So when I would come to her and say, like she asked me, she said, well, what is it that you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a leader. And her response to that was a question of, what does leadership mean to you? And I have to be 100% honest, in that moment, I felt stuck. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to articulate what I felt leadership was. And so we had this conversation and she used a lot of curiosity to ask me for my opinions and what my thoughts were on things. And she also gave me some feedback from her, perspective and things that she had done in her career. But I'll never forget this because I left that conversation and I just felt off. Like that question just really stuck with me. What does leadership mean to you? And I can remember, just really thinking about it and feeling like I was a little bit off center, like someone had just kind of come up and nudged me. And what happened was that as I started to really think about this and really kind of open and expand on that question, things started to come up for me that were actually completely out of left field for me. So I was sitting here thinking like, oh, I needed to figure out a way to get to the next, step in my career, following the same career path that I had. But as I'm sitting there kind of thinking about this, I started to feel like coaching was something that was really intriguing to me. Now, for anybody who doesn't know me, I played a lot of sports in my life, and I probably had hundreds of coaches throughout my life. And I've even had different mentors that were kind of like coaches in my professional career, but never had I even thought, had one iota of knowledge around what coaching was. But I just had this like internal feeling of I should pursue this. So this was late, I think 2019. And I just started doing a lot of research and just looking at, what the coaching profession was. And I just decided I'm going to do it. Like, I'm just going to go enroll myself in a graduate program. I'm going to get ICF certified. I'm not really sure where this is going to take me or how this is going to benefit me, but it just felt right. Like it felt like the missing piece that I had been looking for really a really long time in my career was finally there. And I don't know if I would have gotten there had this mentor been someone who gave me their own advice and was telling me, what to do or providing me with a formula, but providing me that space to just kind of explore and get really clear on what my ask was and what it is that I wanted to do next. With just one simple question, one powerful question, it helped unlocked something for me that I had been seeking my entire career. And that is the true power and potential that we can provide to people that we choose to mentor, or even if you're a mentee. Another thing that I learned through that experience was to challenge my own beliefs, to be okay being a little bit uncomfortable, be okay not really knowing, but trusting kind of that deep inner knowing. So for me, it was about going, okay, so there's coaching. I can do that. I'll do this program. I'll start coaching clients. I'll start figuring out ways to integrate that into the work that I do and everything that I do. And what I've found over time was that felt like that was what I was looking for all along. But if we come to people, especially mentors with very broad topics, and if mentors just choose to kind of direct and prescribe and formalize, ways that you can get to that goal, we're not really getting to the heart of what really matters to people. And that's, really understanding what their purpose is, what is their potential, and how can you as a mentor really help facilitate that process. So I definitely want to challenge people and challenge you on, if you are a mentor, or if you're seeking out a mentor, how do you hold that space? Do you hold the space for curiosity? Do you hold the space for safety? Or are you looking at it to control people, tell people what to do, give them your kind of formula for how your experience unfolded? Or can you be okay just being a little bit uncomfortable and sitting in that curiosity? I have another experience that I like to reflect on a lot was actually when I was a mentor and I had a mentee come to me with a similar kind of problem statement that I had, where they say, I really want to take the next step in my career, but I just feel really stuck. And I reflected a lot actually on the experience I had, and going through coach training, that helped a lot as well. But I spent a lot of time just really asking questions and kind of shifting things in her mind so that she could start stretch her thinking around what it is that she wanted to do. And by the end of the engagement and by the end of our time mentoring together, she actually discovered that her passion was something completely different. Like she totally thought she was going down this one path. Like her whole life has been centered around that. But if we can provide that space of safety and curiosity and that support that they need along the way, people can discover some amazing things. So I'm a huge advocate of, if you're a mentor, figuring out ways to help unlock that potential for someone, to help them see the path that maybe they can't see. Maybe it's removing a roadblock. Maybe it's, again, shifting their perspective in some way with a really powerful question. But looking at the mentee mentor relationship as this co-creative, you know, even playing field relationship allows you to really be in this space of beautiful curiosity that can help change people's lives. Now, if you're a mentee listening to this and interested in seeking out a mentor, I wanted to share a couple of things that I've learned from being on that side of the table in different mentorships I've had over my career. But I would say the first thing, if you're a mentee, is figure out ways that you can provide value to your mentor. So, for instance, usually when I'm working with a mentor, I will offer observations, things that I'm seeing, things that I'm noticing, things that might add value to the mentor. Because if they're, let's say, in a higher position or they're an executive in a company, let's say, you can give a perspective from someone who maybe you're in a different age group or maybe you have a different background, but adding that diversity of thought and giving them those different perspectives really helps. So I look at these mentor relationships as kind of this reciprocal relationship. I like to think of it as always providing value, not wanting to feel like you're just always, asking or taking or wanting something from someone, but realize that you have value to add as well. And you can add beautiful perspectives to that mentorship and things that you're noticing. So it can almost be kind of like this reciprocal relationship where you're both kind of mentoring each other. And I find that the more value that you find you can add, it also helps people feel more open and receptive to wanting to work with you. Another thing that I would add as a mentee is just be very cognizant of the time that the mentor is giving you. So if you're coming to a conversation, make sure that you're super prepared. Do some reflecting before the conversation so that you can get as clear as you possibly can in that moment to what you want to get out of that conversation. So I think it's really important to be really mindful of that and just make sure that you're really driving that conversation. And you're also, like I said, providing value to the mentor as well. And leave yourself open to that curiosity. I think for both sides, the mentor and the mentee, enter into that relationship with genuine, open curiosity where you're not attached to an idea, you're not fixed to some kind of end game or outcome, but just come to it with this really open perspective so that you both can be curious. And what I found is that helps me to really discover kind of that thing behind the thing. People come to you with a certain problem statement and you end up finding out that it's completely different. But having that ability to really be curious with the mentor, but also with yourself, I think will help bring some of those kind of deeper inner knowings to the surface so that your conversations can be really fruitful and you can have a really great mentor relationship. Real life mentorship is about providing meaningful connections and having an impact on people and have an ability to influence their lives in a positive way. So I challenge you to think about how can you start embodying more of this mentorship way of being in everything that you do with regards to your family, your community, at home, wherever you are. How can mentorship really play a major role in someone's life? And how can you incorporate that in just to the the person that you are and how you show up and that way of being? That to me, I think is the most powerful component of mentorship is reframing our mind to look at it like how we want to show up and the impact that we want to have on people versus it being kind of this structured, again, formalized like thing that we all do in business. How can we do that across all of our life? The last piece of advice that I would give to people who are mentors or even mentees is make an effort to seek out people who are different than you. I think that different perspectives and people who have that ability to kind of nudge you a little bit and kind of throw you off center actually adds a tremendous amount of value to you and allows you to see different perspectives, allows you to stretch a little bit more than maybe you would if you found someone who is just like you, right? Maybe looks like you, acts like you, has the same background as you. But seeking out people, especially those who may not necessarily be someone you would typically gravitate towards, I've just found in my life that those people have actually added the most value to me because they've challenged me in ways that maybe others haven't. And that diversity of perspective and that person who was just so much different than me, I noticed challenged me in many ways and added a lot of value in the end to how I discovered what my potential was and how I was able to provide a space for others to explore their own potential. So I know it's human nature, guys, but if there's a way that we can not gravitate towards the same people, right? People so much like us, but really take a step out and stretch yourself and seek out that person that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think to go to first. Because I feel like that's where a lot of the growth happens is when we have the courage to stretch ourselves and allow ourselves to be stretched and providing enough space and safety for that to happen. So that's a wrap on this week's podcast. If you enjoyed it, or if you enjoy any of these episodes, wherever you're listening to, if you can subscribe and also rate and review the podcast, I would love to hear from you. And if you have any thoughts or topics you'd like to hear covered in the future, I would love to get that feedback. Until next time, and don't forget to stay curious just a little bit longer. Talk to you next week.